Alright. Hey there! In today's video, I will be taking some of the songs from Deltarune and swapping them with some of the songs from Silksong. Unlike last time though, where I only took the one song, I'll be taking 3 songs from each of these games and putting them in the other's place. Last time I gave myself 3 rules. They were to swap the instrument, to swap the structures, and then to swap the time signatures. This time though, I will be dropping the time signature requirement since, well, you'll see later. Just like last time, let's start with the title themes. So we'll be taking Before the Story from Deltarune and Silksong from Silksong. So let's take Silksong and put that in Before the Story's place. For Before the Story, I got this project file from Just Isaac on YouTube. Before the Story starts with this piano part that goes up. But Silksong's intro stays on the same chord, so we'll adjust this part to mimic the lower harp from Silksong. Then this little intro melody can be replaced with a stripped down version of Silksong's melody. This leads into the real melody, which will be played on both piano and glockenspiel. The piano chords can now be reworked to go up again, but using Silksong's chords. And we'll do the same thing with the strings. Next, the flutes will come in, which originally played this slow trill part. Which we can easily rework to just play the Silksong melody again. And with that, here's how Silksong would sound over Before the Story. On the other end of this, there was no project files I found for any of Silksong's songs, so I'd do all of this from scratch. So we'll take Before the Story's melody and simply put it on the harp. The lower harp will take from the lower piano chords of Before the Story to make this harmony. I should also mention, we'll be keeping the sustained string part from the beginning of Silksong, which then turns into this extra harmony. For the next section, the chord progression gets a bit more complex. The bass line starts going up half notes, and the rest of the chords need to be adjusted to work with that. These lower strings come in at the same time and also need to be adjusted to fit with the new chord progression. Near the end, this high harp plays, which we can replace with the flute part at the end of Before the Story. The second time it plays, we'll give it a harmony much like the original has. And during this section in Silksong, there's also this higher shimmery part that I tried to recreate using a glockenspiel with some compression and adding a Valhalla shimmer to. And here's how Before the Story sounds over Silksong. With the title themes out of the way, let's do something a little more exciting. For Deltarune, we'll take Rude Buster as its main battle theme, and since Silksong doesn't really have one dedicated battle theme, I chose one I think best represents the game, Red Maiden. In case you don't remember Red Maiden, it plays during the scene where Hornet breaks out of prison and snaps that fly's neck. So let's first take Rude Buster and turn it into a string suite as Red Maiden. The first thing we'll do for this swap is take the bass progression and work it into Red Maiden's cello and bass. I tried the same technique on the viola and the violins with the chords from Rude Buster, but it sounded a little too happy to me. So what we can do instead here is just use the original rhythm from those chords. I do take the first rhythm we tried and use it in the next section where the melody comes in, but it goes to these tremolo chords at the end of each measure. Next, we'll make the bass do these accents on the first beat and a half of each measure. Then walk it to the next bass note. Well, this isn't even with the melody yet, so I guess we can do that. I'll just need to make a little bit of changes to the rhythm and give it a bit more of a Red Maiden feeling. In the next section, we'll just keep the basses going with the same 8th note rhythm for the new chords. And those new chords will be done just by the violas here, with this top note accenting certain beats. While that's going, we'll have the lead violin playing this part, which we can once again just slightly adjust the rhythm of. Next, for the final section, the non-melody parts are mostly the same as what we've discussed before, just with some slight tweaks where needed to support the melody. Which, again, the melody mainly just needed some minor tweaks except for the part where it goes really fast, so I had to tame that a bit. And that's pretty much how the song was done, so here's the full thing. Look who it is. Look who it is. Little girl. Now for the reverse. For Red Maiden into Rudebuster, I have this project file for Rudebuster made by Storm on YouTube. The easiest place to start is by fixing the drums to fit the new time signature. This will set up what we're going for rhythm-wise, which is this 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and. This will be used to make the bass line, and the chords/melody. As you heard, the melody from Red Maiden is playing, but we also had to rework the chords to fit the new key, which was honestly the hardest part of this whole song. In the next section, we have a new chord progression to make. This will also be where the melody comes in. Not much is getting changed with its rhythm other than scooting this note forward a 16th note. And of course we need to rework those drums a bit for the different time signature. Moving to the next section where we'll take this and replace it with this melody. Turn the bass into this, the piano into this, and of course adjust the drums to fit. Next up would be where the breakdown happens, which is just the drums and bass. But we have some extra melodic parts from Red Maiden we can use, so we'll add this one here. This leads us into the next section, where we'll take this lead and apply it to this melody. Now we need to rework the bass for the new progression. and the piano chords to match. We'll then repeat this part, but add in this harmony part. And then take this final build-up part from Red Maiden and condense that into a little piano part so the song can loop. I'm also going to go ahead and make a closing part to the song instead of looping it, since that's what Red Maiden does. And with that, this song is done too. The final full swap I made for this video is one I did because these are my two favorite songs on each soundtrack. Choral Chambers from Silksong and Dark Sanctuary from DELTARUNE. Since we already have this project file that I took from Storm again, we'll put Choral Chambers over Dark Sanctuary first. Dark Sanctuary starts with this fast Gaia piano part, which we can pretty cleanly slot Choral Sanctuary's main piano part into. Next, the female vocal comes in, which was extracted straight from Dark Sanctuary. Next, the big part comes up, so if I add these in between notes to the Gaia piano, then adjust the real piano from Dark Sanctuary, next, I found a female vocal that sounded close enough to the original, and made it do a sort of blend between Dark Sanctuary's vocals and Choral Chambers' vocals. To finish up this part, I still need to edit the organ and strings. Then we can just add the drums unedited to get this. The Gaia piano will start the next section by dropping the in-between notes added in the last section. Now I'll just take the English horn and oboe, and take the part played by a similar instrument from choral chambers. Then I'll need to mess with it to make its rhythm similar to the one from Dark Sanctuary. For the second half of the melody, these strings get added, which also contain a harmony that plays thirds and fourths beneath the melody. The melody in the next section is played on the strings again, taking from this section in the original. We'll need to rework the rhythm quite a fair amount here. The Gaia piano will have to follow the new chord progression. Next, the female vocal will also get reworked to fit with this new chord progression. In the second half of this section, this choir part gets added as a layer to the melody. As well as this piano to harmonize with the flute and the Gaia piano. Now for the last section, it originally plays the legend motif, but we can replace it with this melody. Back that with the Gaia piano, and turn the strings into these backing chords. Then we introduce this piano here, which I can just fix it to fit the current chords. Same with the tubular bells. And then the song is done. Alright, looks like I need to do Dark Sanctuary now. Unlike the previous two Silksong songs, this one looks a little more involved. So this one's probably going to be a little more difficult because, once again, I don't have any pre-made files for these. So we'll see how this goes. First, we can take this part from Dark Sanctuary and put it over the main piano part here. Once again, a very simple conversion. The glockenspiel comes in playing very similar, but with a harmony. At the same time, the choir comes in. Here I have to do a little bit extra to get this to work. First, I make the actual MIDI part with the choir samples. This consists of 5 different samples, each doing a different vowel sound. As you can hear though, it isn't really a smooth transition between the different vowels, so what we can do is double the length of all the notes, and export the whole section as its own audio track. Now we can cut each individual note or vowel. Then we'll shorten them a bit, but keep a little bit for some overlap, that way we can crossfade between them. Then just using some volume automation to make it feel more alive. The vocals here sound a lot better than before. The next part we'll be adding here is the melody on this oboe. I'll be honest, I think this is probably just an English horn, but this oboe sound is the closest I could get to the original sound. This little trill here pulls from this part. And the bass for this section is proving to be a little difficult to actually match correctly. I first tried this organ, but instead I just made this bass. The last instrument introduced in this section is the violin, which we'll use to play 2 parts. This part from Choral Chambers, but we'll harmonize it with the melody from Dark Sanctuary. Now we need to focus on this section here, which has this part that swells. First thing I'll do is export this part, and then I'll add some reverb and pan it. Then I'll make this string chord, to then export it as another sample and add some choppiness with it and some more effects and reverb. Then realize we're really not that close to the original, so go back to the original, rip it, put it in, hope it sounds good, and move on. Cool. For the next part, we have to rework the melody a good amount to fit. We need to turn this into this. So let's start by just reworking the rhythm a bit. Then, to make it work like the original, let's make a lower piano part to mimic what Choral Chambers does. Now the glockenspiel will be playing the same part, but we'll alternate each note with being panned left or right. My glockenspiel doesn't really go high enough for some of these notes, so once again we have to bounce some audio and do some editing to make it work. So we'll take that part and make it an octave lower, then export it as its own sample and raise it that octave. Now I can add this cello for that falling bass part. And we have something pretty good. Next, this violin comes in doing this upward motion mimicking choral chambers. Then we have some male vocals playing pretty much what they originally were. Next, we'll add the bass to get this beautiful sound. This leads us into a section similar to the beginning, but the pianos are about an octave higher now, and we have a different chord progression. This will later get layered with some more glockenspiel and harp because this is Silksong. But before we get there, I know some of you were unhappy that I didn't do this at the beginning, so we're gonna do it here. At the beginning of Dark Sanctuary, there's this top female vocal part that we'll put here instead. And then we'll add these strings with this top one doing this trill. These will play a bit throughout the next section too. But they help lead into this part with the full choir. Once again with the choir bounced to their own sample and crossfaded. Now we just have the ending to do. The piano is really simple. Choral Chambers makes its piano play once and then have a gap, so we can do the same thing here. Then we can bring in the legend motif from Dark Sanctuary on the oboe. This gets doubled with the female vocals. And then the bass holds this chord for the whole time. And with that, this beast of a song is done. And there we have it. If I was telling the truth and that there were only 3 swaps, this is where the video would end. But I lied. I actually made 3.5. I really wanted to swap the World Revolving with Trobbio, but man, I could just not get the World Revolving to work over Trobbio. But I could get Trobbio to work over the World Revolving. So let me show you what I did. For the project file for the World Revolving, I got this from Nini on YouTube. First, a very important detail is that the World Revolving has 5 main sections with 5 different melodies, where Trobbio only has like 3 or 4. So I needed to get extra creative here. The main melody here at the beginning worked out pretty well, since Trobbio and the World Revolving both have this 2-note alternating part. Then we can replace the in-betweens with this part from Trobbio. I won't be listing every instrument played because there's so many. Sorry. To back this up, we can add the bass following a very similar progression to the original Trobbio. Then, with the drums unchanged from the World Revolving, then to transition into the next section, we have this leading chord from Trobbio that will play on the bottle blow and the bandoneon. In the next section, we'll take this melody from Trobbio and turn it into this. Well, we turn the bass and the chords into this. And then we'll just need to change this arpeggio on the square wave to fit the chord progression. This part from Trobbio will be added halfway through on the bells and this piano. With the drums, we get this. Awesome! On to the next part, we'll take this part from Trobbio's melody and turn it into this. Instead of taking the bass and remaking it into Trobbio's chord progression, I decided it would be better just to change it to the right key and leave the general progression from the World Revolving. Then we can add some strings to that. And the drums. Going into the next section, the lead will be changing to this synth. So we'll use it to make those leading chords again. Then we'll take this part of Trobbio and extend it a little to make it the new melody. With the bouncy bass and chords, the square wave, and add the drums to get this. This is where the World Revolving would repeat that section, but that melody has already overstayed its welcome. So we'll turn this transition part into a melody that will set up the last section. At the end of this section, this bell would normally double the melody, but our melody stops on this note, so we'll need to figure out something else. And to make matters worse, we've ran out of all the melodies from Trobbio. So what are we going to do for this last section? Well, in the World Revolving, this is where the I'm With You in the Dark motif plays. which I would consider to be Deltarune's main motif. So what if you could replace that with Silksong's main motif? Perfect! Now we can add that same melody to the last section. We can leave the bass and the chords mostly unchanged. Make the bells, strings, and square wave go up and down with it. Then add the drums. Great, we're almost done. There's just one last thing to do, this little part at the end, which we can easily change to be what else than the leading chords we've already used before. And with that, I hope you enjoy the final song. And there we go, 3.5 swaps between Deltarune and Silksong. I hope you enjoyed them. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like on the video, and also leave a comment letting me know which of the swaps was your favorite. And if there's any other swaps you'd like to see from these games, or other games, let me know while you're down there. If there's a swap that I see is overwhelmingly wanted down there, I'll end up doing that in the future. If you made it this far, you probably really enjoyed the video. That, or you skipped here, or maybe you fell asleep. But if you did, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. Well, as one final surprise for those of you that made it all the way here to the end of the video, I lied again. Here is one more half swap I made where I took Silksong and put it over the credits theme from Deltarune, I'm With You in the Dark. Thanks for watching.